I'm Caitlin, and welcome back to the Lit Review. Today we're going to do episode 2 of Hoards and Hauls. I will link the first episode of Hoards and Hauls up in the cards if you'd like to see. I'll also start creating a playlist that I will link down in the description box. You can check out all like the little rules and intricacies there. I'll do my best to explain as I go. For starters, let's just talk about all the books I brought in to my house in the month of February. As before, I'm not really going to go deep into synopsis. I might talk about what drew me to pick a book up. I will also highlight where I bought the book, but the importance of this isn't like weighing on cost. It's more of just awareness about how much stuff I am bringing into my house because I came to realize I have two very strong readerly impulses. That is buying books and then reading books, and I'm doing this more than I'm doing this. So I'm trying to get those numbers a little bit more in balance with hopefully a fun game. The goal of this is not ever to shame me or get me to stop buying books because I really like to do it, but it is to like kind of keep things a little bit more in check and be a little bit more honest with myself. This is also where you'll get to see me talk about my subscription box picks. So let's get to it. So when it comes to subscription boxes, I kind of make this call based on when they actually come into my house as opposed to when I purchase them. So I actually had 2 Illumicrate books come in February. And the first one was actually January's Illumicrate, so it came a little late. And the first one was Voyage of the Damned by Frances White. Oh, it's very pretty. It's obviously also very shiny. You can see it in my lights, but gorgeous this. The in papers of this one are particularly fabulous. Like, I just love it. It's a map of the ship because this is like a fantasy. Oh, it's so pretty. Yeah, just everything about Illumicrate books to me is just so stunning. It's part of why I keep the subscription box flow going with Illumicrate. I don't always love the picks, but they are always beautiful. So it's kind of one of those subscription services that I weigh whether or not it's worth it to me. This one definitely falls into the worth it category just on appearances alone, but I am very excited about the book itself. Then I recently, like last day of February, just got the other option for Illumicrate, the actual February book, and that's To Cage a God by Elizabeth May. So check that out. And then the back cover is equally interesting. The other back cover was kind of more straightforward looking, pretty stained glass looking here. End pages. Ooh, that one's very pretty. There's nothing on the back of the other hardcover here. And then I think the end papers on this one are also different on the other side. They are. Okay. So much darker, moodier. This one on cover alone does not do it for me. So like this is pretty. I could do without this. And I've seen the regular schmegular version of this cover. It's not doing it for me either. So like, I'm not excited about this one. This one's gonna be a hard one for me to pick up, I think, in the coming months. Please tell me if you've read this or have heard anything about this one in particular, since I'm very low on the excitement scale. Let me finish up with my subscription boxes for this month and see what we've got. You all know I'm a longtime lover of the Read Romance Repeat box from the Rip Bodice. It's a romance-centric book box, and they give you 2 paperbacks in a month. And so the 2 paperbacks I got this month were Sex, Lies, and Sensibility by Nikki Payne. This is technically book 2 in a series, but this is really cool. I'm actually very excited about this pick. And then the other pick for the Read Romance Repeat box in February was A Gentleman Never Tells by Jodi Ellen Malpas. So I have read some of Jodi Ellen Malpas's like contemporary work, but I've never read any of her historical. So I'm actually pretty excited by this. All in all, I would say this is a very good Read Romance Repeat box. I'm pretty hyped about both of these books and feel like they were well worth the cost of the subscription. I also subscribe to the Hello Lovely Trope of the Month book box was a Sinful Vow by Asia Monique, and this cover's gorgeous. I'm actually very excited for this. It's a little on the smaller side, which is honestly great for where my reading habits have been at lately. Happy with this so far. And then the last and final example of the book box picks here for February is something that I only get on a quarterly basis, and that is the TBR Pigeon recommends. You might have seen videos like Megan from Meg with Books did a video on this recently. I think Books and Lala has similarly done this. Kayla's done like a whole video series on these. There is like basically a subscription through Book Riot where they will like make recommendations for you, and you can do it at a bunch of different pay tiers. Historically, I've only ever utilized that series as like they just give you the recommendation, but this year I decided to actually have them send me the books, and I'm really excited about it. I hope to be able to do kind of like a long vlog for you on some of this, so let me know if that would be interesting to you. The recommendations I got for the first quarter of the year, but I got them in February, is Messy Roots by Laura Gao, Salt and Broom by Sharon Lynn Fisher. This is a Jane Eyre retelling, which I'm super interested in. And then The Davenports by Crystal Marquis. Actually, I don't know if it's Marquis or Marquess. I'm gonna have to look into that, but gorgeous cover. All right, the rest of these books are some that I either got on exchange with friends or bought myself. So let's talk about those. As per usual, I got myself into a little bit of trouble at Target. I only bought 2 books from Target this month, so I'm actually gonna call that a win. You can tell because I haven't even taken the stickers off yet. Those will be coming off shortly. But the first is Filthy Rich Vampire by Geneva Lee. And then I also picked up Bride by Ali Hazelwood because I'm actually very excited for this. And then I acquired 2 books at my book club's like monthly exchange. Instead of doing a more typical book club format, we bring some of our favorite books or books that we think sound interesting to exchange from one another, and then we like hang out and do a bunch of other really cool things. And it's one of my new favorite things in life. So I picked up a autographed version of For Her Consideration by Amy Spalding, which I'm very hyped for. And then somebody's book of the month came my way. So The Wishing Game by Meg Schaefer. And it just looked really cute. The person who pitched it well. So I don't know a ton, but I know it sounded like a good time. And then I had a lovely kind of friend date with 2 of my good friends, one new to me good friend, but I went out in Culver City with my friend Stephanie and my new friend Teresa, and we went to 2 different bookstores. The first bookstore we went to was The Village Well in Culver City, which is so much fun, and I think I find like really unique picks there. Case in point, I grabbed Shakespeare for Every Day of the Year, compiled by Ali Isiri, and it's this really gorgeous hardback, like this matte hardback that's super cool and interesting. And I just couldn't walk away from it. It's so cool. Then this one is still like in its kind of cellophane, it's shrink wrap, but this is a poetry collection called Wrong Norma by Anne Carson. I've read a heap of Anne Carson in different circumstances, and I'm just always really fascinated by her poetry, so I picked this one up. And then last, but certainly not least, we went to the Rip Bodice, where I get one of my subscription boxes from, but I did pick up 2 books there, and when I was hanging out with Teresa and Stephanie. So I picked up Advika and the Hollywood Wives by Kirthana Ramasetti. Oop, and I just seem to have lost a sticker that I also purchased. So let me see. Oh, yeah, I also bought this sticker that says, "Thanks, it's the trauma." I'm gonna put that on a water bottle or maybe my laptop case. On Teresa's recommendation, because Teresa runs a really amazing bookstagram, and I will link her down below as well. She recommended Bonded by Thorns by Elizabeth Helen, so I picked that up. And I haven't read it yet, but I'm very excited for this. So thank you, Teresa, for the recommendation. All right, those are all the books. So now we have to math, and it's my least favorite part. So for those of you counting along at home, I brought in 16 books in February, which, you know, to give myself some credit, 16 is less than January. So that is trending in the right direction for me. So in order to properly tell you what's going on in the rest of the game, I'm going to tell you the little story that defines the game we're going to play together here for Hoards and Hauls. After many years of studying, the little book witch has a new job at the Grand Library, where magical tomes and texts of all kinds come in daily. On her first day, the little book witch encounters a small book dragon who is so excited by all the goings on in the Grand Library that he attempts to make it his hoard by piling books up willy-nilly and making it difficult for other patrons to find their next magical read. The little book witch has tried begging, bartering, and using her best librarian voice, but she can't stop the little book dragon from causing chaos in the library. So this is me. I'm also reading from my little story here, so if you ever see my laptop pop up, that's what is going on. But this is the story of my game, essentially. Like, I am both the little book witch and the book dragon at the same time, and we are trying to get better here. So ultimately, the little book witch is left with no other resource, and she decides to start crafting a sleeping potion to put the baby book dragon down for a nap in the hopes that she can clean up the library and kind of fix the shelves up, which is really what I'm trying to do here. So in order to do this every quarter, we are going to have a theme where I have to roll a d20 based on my haul and how many books I read in that month to give me a book to pull off the shelves that I could hope will be my secret ingredient to helping lull the book dragon to sleep. So we're going to do this with the same theme, and currently that theme is the average rating on Goodreads of all the books that I own. And then we'll do it 3 times, and every time I read it, I will either rate it a star rating from 1 to 5, and that will be the strength of the ingredients that we choose together. I haven't fully decided yet what happens when it's successful or not. I'm still figuring out some of the logistics of the game, but it is going to get better each and every time we play it. Now that you've seen my haul for this month, and that means that the book dragon is feeling very awake. You can see on this little graphic here that I will put up on the screen with a little like kind of counter thing. Book dragon's very awake and active currently. So in the month of February, I did not have any like duplicates or overlaps of any of the books that I brought in, which means I didn't read any of those books and none of them were duplicates. So 16 is our core number. I only read 4 books in February. I've been going through one hell of a reading slump. So that means that I only get to subtract 4 from that total. I basically have to subtract 12 from whatever I roll to pick our final number because, again, the little book witch, she can get really frazzled and overwhelmed with all of her responsibilities, like cataloging the new books in the library, as well as dealing with the little book dragon. So it's kind of like, how good is she at picking the right book or the right secret ingredient for her potion? So she's going to be hurting this month with a -12. But before we get to that, let's talk about what I read last month for this challenge. I had to read the lowest rated book on my average rating for Goodreads. And at the time, that was 12 Men for Christmas by Philippa Ashley. I'm not going to tell you my full thoughts on this book right now because you'll be seeing that in my wrap-up video. Mild spoilers for that so that you can see I've built another little graphic up here so that every month I'll be able to add ingredients to our like quarterly potion brew essentially. And I chose a sprig of holly to represent 12 Men for Christmas because of the Christmas theme. And so the holly berries are our potion ingredient. And you can see up on the screen here that I gave this a 2-star, which means it's a pretty low strength ingredient. Its effectiveness is not going to be very powerful in helping for the sleep potion, but it is better than nothing. So I did read our first ever hoard and haul pick. However, it was not super helpful. And I can tell you, at least on the positive side, I will be unhauling this after I complete all the videos talking about it. So in that respect, it was like at least a little helpful for the library. We're unhauling a book. That's not nothing. We know we have to roll on a 12 deficit. I'm going to pull up my Goodreads. Oh no. And that's what we're going to pull from the average rating on Goodreads. So I'm going to roll this. Let me see if I can find a good place to roll this so that you can actually see it. So this little Evie is what we'll see if it's like a nat 20, which is what we would hope for. Basically, we want anything higher than a 12 to at least give us something. 1 through 10 are like the lowest, and 11 through 20 are like the high picks. So that's what we're doing. Ooh, great, a nat 1. So we will be reading the lowest thing on my shelves. Great. Well, so much for that thought. You know, I had hoped maybe we could do something else, but they made it really simple. I did go ahead and add all of the books from this month as well as from last month into my Goodreads so that they could be counted in the library. But let's see what the lowest rated book according to my shelves is. And let me see if I can find it. All right, it is Gork the Teenage Dragon by Gabe Hudson. It has a average of 2.8. A 2.8 average. Now, just like before, just like last month, I'm not going to do any review hunting. I'm not going to try to read anybody's reviews, so I can go in with my unbiased opinion. So the goal is for me to read Gork the Teenage Dragon in March. I'll at least read you some of the synopsis. Gork isn't like the other dragons at Warwing's military academy. He has a gigantic heart, 2-inch horns, and an occasional problem with fainting. His nickname is Weak Sauce, and his will to power ranking is Snackalicious, the lowest in his class. But Gork is determined not to let any of this hold him back as he embarks on the most important mission of his life. Tonight, on the eve of his high school graduation, he must ask a female dragon to be his queen. If she says yes, they'll go off to conquer a foreign planet together. If she says no, Gork becomes a slave. Cool, 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 cool. So I'm starting to understand from the premise why maybe this isn't being rated so well. So there's more to the description, but I feel like that's enough to give us the flavor of what we're up against. I do not remember how I picked this book up. I probably just picked it up on Cover and Whimsy when I was trolling like a used bookstore at one point. Because this came out in 2017, but I have heard like nothing about it. So we'll see how effective this is. Who knows? The whole point of me doing this, especially with average rating, is that maybe I could secretly love this, right? Like maybe this is secretly a book that I would champion. I'm not confident about that, but we'll find out together. Yeesh. But if I don't read it, if I just don't get to it or don't prioritize it, it has to go on my priority shelf. And that will net me a goose egg, a 0 for the potion brewing, which is not going to be super helpful. So I am incentivized to try to fix that. And if you have any suggestions about what I should use for like a rewards tier for my potion brewing, like what I should get rewards wise if it was a like slightly successful potion, a very successful potion, or like an instantly like a very like an extremely successful potion, like tell me what you think I should do for each of those tiers in the comments below. Thank you for spending time with me. I hope you have the best reading day or night depending on when you see this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.
Hold on, girl, now wait just a minute. I've got something to say, you should hear it. Oh, I'm happy to make time.